In this episode, we talk Avengers Endgame, Game of Thrones, The Long Night, and our list of essential Clone Wars and Rebels episodes. This is Hashtag General.
If we gave you a beat and you still missed the beat.
I still missed the beat. I just... see, I'm behind the camera.
Right.
Usually, not in front of the camera.
So once again, he said to start. Just an off day. I was late. You're missing cues all over the place.
It's just, this is going to be a mess. When is it not?
True. True statement.
How have you been?
Good. Just a lot of stuff going on, but I mean, otherwise.
Yeah, no, I've been like kind of in the same boat where it's just like the past few episodes, I've been literally, it's like the Friday before we are going to record, and I'm like, oh crap, I haven't put together the topic list. Right. But just because I've been so busy.
This week's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like two major things to talk about.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess it's good that we're busy, but hey, so why don't we just dive in? James, we're going to just start with TV. Let's dig into Game of Thrones. So, what did you think of Game of Thrones? It seems like the internet had its opinion.
Yeah. I didn't have too many of like the dark issues of like it being too dark. Did you have issues with that?
I kind of did. James, did you feel that way while watching it at all? Or
I thought the darkness worked, but the compression.
Yeah.
Like the compression is not good in darkness.
No, it was.
Like you can tell the streaming was having a problem with the level of dark.
Yeah, and then I
didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah, like technical reasons I had issues, but not necessarily episode reasons I had issues.
I mean, like I had an issue with the episode in general. I didn't like the episode. Did you? I liked the episode, but before we go into it, like
I'm kind of glad because of the whole issue with the darkness that I remember sitting there going, let's wait till the sun has gone down enough to where our apartment will be dark enough.
Right.
Like, I wasn't, like, aware it was going to be, the issue was going to be, everything's going to be dark as much as I was like, let's just have optimal conditions. It looks like it's a nighttime battle. And I think that's the only reason I was able to track so much. I watched the episode again on my iPad a couple of days ago, and being able to... First off, the iPad is now the best screen in the house. So just from going from the TV to my iPad, there was definitely a noticeable difference in being able to pick out small details and see what was going on. To where watching it on this thing, I had no problem at all with the darkness in terms of.
No, I totally get what you're saying.
But it's not really a good thing when a broadcast... Because as much as we will talk about how television is approaching the quality of theater in what you can watch, it really depends on what the TV is. Right. And I think this Game of Thrones episode really pushed that forward.
I think it was meant to take advantage of like HDR and 4K screens, but like those aren't highly prevalent at this point. So
on my 10-year-old TV, it was not the best.
Right. But,
all right, dig in. What were your problems with the episode?
I just felt bored for most of it. Like, it was just a thing where I felt like at points in time the battle was long because they wanted to be long. Like, it was long for the sake of being long and long for just to achieve we have the longest battle sequence of all time thing. Yeah. It just felt really kind of slow-paced or poorly paced. Even when watching, like even when you watch, I went back because I was like, maybe I'm off here, maybe it's me, and so I went back and watched like the Battle of Helm's Deep, which is
what they've even explicitly said. The Battle of Helm's Deep,
and like I was fully engaged in that still, and like there's beats there that I can still recall that entire battle and really kind of talk about points in Helm's Deep where I'm like, I love this, I love this, I love this, I love this, and I can like beat by beat tell you what happens in that battle, where here it's just like all kind of a mush.
Yeah, there's almost too much going on at some points.
Right. Or like just things that there's so many shots of things you don't care about. And it's just like, okay, I don't... Like, I'm kind of past the point of battle sequences being crazy long. Like, it felt like watching a Transformers movie where I'm just like, please do something story-wise. And then you hit a story beat and you're like, great, finally we get something cool or a great story beat or a great character moment.
And then you go right back
and then you go right back into a battle and you're like, okay, I don't want this. It just kind of ruined the flow for me, where I would like get emotionally invested in something and then they'd cut away from it and go back to something I don't care about. Right?
Yeah, it's... it's one of the things I...
And again, this is to take nothing away from them as a technical achievement, because it looks incredible, and it's definitely an achievement and something very cool. And I just personally did not enjoy the episode.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
Because my thing is, I think the big problem I had was like the tactics of the episode.
Well, that too. That was bad.
We're just like, why? Because if you're gonna have the Dothraki charge, like having the Dothraki charge actually isn't necessarily a bad tactic.
And I love the look of like the flames going away.
But I feel like the entire thought behind it was we need to have the Dothraki charge. We're gonna have their swords all aflame, and then we're gonna just have all the flames disappear. Which is honestly, it's a great visual, but at the same time, if you're looking at Game of Thrones, where the books and the TV show have both oftentimes actually delved a little bit deeper into the tactics of the battlefield,
right.
It was like, why are you doing that? They should have been harrying and harassing, trying to draw the enemy in.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was just a standard cavalry charge.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of, I felt that fell flat. Also, the point a lot of people made about how, why are all your trebuchets and catapults, why are they in front of the infantry line? It's just, move a couple of those scenes around, and I probably wouldn't have had a problem with the tactics displayed in the episode, but it just was... There was a lot of points where, for me, the biggest problem wasn't the darkness. It was when, like, Dany and Jon are in the snowstorm.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, you kind of... Yes, they are supposed to have a completely lost... have no sense of where they are in those moments, but it really just screamed, hey, we're on a green screen and we're not gonna give you any clue or anything of what's going on. It's just...
Right, and it's stuff like that kind of take me out of it, where it's like, okay, this seems completely here just to have a moment with Dany and Jon, rather than like focusing on a battle sequence that should be happening, right? Like it just seemed like there's a lack of focus and a lack of like cohesion in the entire episode. And like even watching the inside the episode at the end of the piece of like how they wanted to have like the three very different beats in the battle. Did you watch the inside the episode?
Yes, I did.
So like where he talks about he wants to have three different beats, or I don't know if that was in that might have been in Throne Reveal or Games Revealed. Can't remember. They put like a 50-minute Throne Revealed going behind the scenes of like how they filmed this battle, which is awesome and amazing. And personally, I enjoyed more than the actual episode itself. But the director kind of goes into, he wanted to have different beats of the story of like the middle section where Arya's running around Winterfell is like a horror film.
Yes.
And stuff like that. You want and I got those different beats and I enjoyed those beats. I enjoyed moments within those beats, but I felt like they just lasted too long. Right?
Because what was weird, especially with the Arya horror part, my problem with that wasn't that she was in this situation where it's like a horror movie. Right. It's like, at that point, if you had told me that nothing, like the battle had basically been lost and everyone had died and Arya is one of the last survivors, I would have believed it in that moment until we cut back outside and look, everyone has really good plot armor this episode.
Yeah, and that was kind of my another problem of it too, of just like, I love the deaths we got, right?
Yeah.
I think every death that we got of a minor or major character was deserved and earned, and it felt great. But they weren't necessarily characters where I was going to be worried about them dying anyway, or actually care that they died. Right? Where like it didn't mean anything to me that they died. Like, did they die cool?
Right,
Are they cool characters?
They picked the characters that it wasn't going to be the most... They didn't kill Rob, is basically what it is. Is they went from... And I think this is... Honestly, any other show, after this battle, no one would be complaining about the fact that all the characters survived.
Right.
But Game of Thrones has set up so thoroughly the fact that death is never going to come at the time you expect it.
Right.
Like, life is going to happen regardless of what you think, that having all of a sudden the big fan favorite characters survive that battle sequence kind of feels...
cheapened.
Yeah.
And again, it's stuff where I would have been fine with it if they didn't try to, like, make us feel that way. So they put Tyrion and Sansa in the crypts with, like, corpses, right? And you're like, oh, okay, maybe something's gonna happen. And they kind of they play it like they have Viserion fight Jon, right? And stuff like that. They put all of these characters that you care about in situations where you potentially think they would die, but they never really gave you a moment or a chance to really feel like they were going to die, right? Like you never got to the point where you're like worried for them. It was just more of a, oh, here's a sequence that...
Yeah, it was... I remember thinking before this episode aired, if you had asked me who was going to survive, I would have been like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, I would have just been, yeah.
And I think this goes kind of with this entire season so far of, like, everything's kind of going a little too clean.
Yeah.
In this season so far. And a lot of characters are doing things that I don't necessarily... I wouldn't have called them doing in the beginning before the season aired, right? Where it's like, okay, this is a little too happy or a little too sort of like on the nose where I think it's going to go. And like, that's a little concerning. Now, obviously we can be completely wrong and they could turn it on its head and like completely flip the script on us, but it doesn't seem that way so far, and I don't really like that.
The one thing I will give them is I was tense that entire episode.
Oh, really? I was bored.
I don't know, James, were you tense at all? Because I remember feeling really tense, and like the moment at the very end. By the way, if people haven't figured out yet, spoilers for Game of Thrones and Avengers.
Yeah. Sorry, we should have said that.
We should have said that at the top of the show.
Yeah, James, how did you feel? You can be kind of a tiebreaker here. Of like, how do you feel?
I liked it. I agree with Logan. It was tense, and it definitely helped. I watched it again on Monday. And I liked it more the second time I watched it. I guess because it is so tense. I mean, that gets to me sometimes. So
right.
Because it was so tense, I sort of didn't see the episode for what it was. But watching it again, I don't know, I liked it.
Yeah, it's like in the moment and like it's one of those things where I feel like for me specifically, it's been a hindsight thing. Like the more I think about that episode, the more it falls apart. But while watching it. John Knauer. Okay, I'm leaving if you start talking about Game of Thrones. We're already talking about Game of Thrones. Did you see John's comment, James? Yeah. By the way, he's giving you a compliment on your lighting. But it's like, again, it's like a hindsight thing for me, where it's like the more I thought about the episode, the more I feel like its flaws showed up. But while watching it, I was literally the moment Arya jumped and out of nowhere at the Night King, I was like, oh, thank God for her. I was like it was like almost like up until that moment I was just tense the entire time, and that was like my moment of relief. I mean, I wasn't happy with the fact that we get this trope. This seems to be like the trope of the decade, where you kill the one big bad and all the other bad guys and their minions die. Right.
Well, this one actually makes sense because he's the one raising the dead and he's the one kind of manipulating and controlling.
This one, I think it makes sense.
Right.
It's one of those. I think what undermines it is the fact that it seems like every series anymore does this without actually setting up any logical statement for it. So it feels like, oh, they just did it again. It's like, no, they did it right. It's just still kind of slightly disappointing.
Right.
But did you see, I guess on a side note with Arya, did you see any of the internet hubbub on Monday?
Yeah,
on Twitter.
I saw some of it. I think the one about Jon yelling "Go," I think that one's real dumb.
Which I don't think I saw this one.
There's a shot of him fighting Viserion where he seems to yell "Go," and people are saying that, oh, he knows Arya's there. And he's telling her to go. He's like, I'm gonna distract the dragon while you go to to kill the Night King. Like that's sort of the like John tells her to really do that, and so I think that's a dumb kind of theory on it.
Yeah.
There's also one where there's another theory where Arya had killed one of the White Walkers and was wearing one of the masks of the White Walkers, and that's the reason how she got so close without being detected. I also think that one's dumb.
Yeah, I don't like that one. I like Nathan's comment on Facebook. It makes sense in terms of specifically the Night King killing and then everyone dying. It makes sense, but it would have been nice if they killed a few White Walkers along the way in an effort to get to him.
Right. I think the White Walkers kind of... I saw a post that was like, what's the most useless entourage? Is it the White Walkers or is it the Black Order? And I was like, I think at this point the Black Order is more useful than the White Walkers. The White Walkers are actually useless.
They've been so scary and intimidating, and it was just like, in this one moment, it kind of was like...
Yeah. But I mean... Going back to the Arya thing was my thing is just like they've really played up the idea that she can sneak up on anyone.
Yeah,
and they've really played up the like even John when she sees John for the first time. John turns
like,
around.
Yeah, like this has been established, but no, the big thing that broke out and it caught me completely off guard on Twitter.
Was the Mary Sue thing?
The Mary Sue thing.
That's dumb too.
Like basically this is going to be my now. Whenever anyone does because this has been a big thing in Star Wars where everyone's trying to be like, Rey is a Mary Sue. The moment someone makes that argument, it'd be like, yeah, well, everyone was also from this cabal of people saying Mary Sue. Also said Arya was a Mary Sue, despite the fact we've been seeing for 7 years her get to this point.
She's the most deserving character to be able to do that. We've seen her sort of training montage for the past 7 years, 8 years. She deserves it more than anyone.
Yeah, exactly. It makes perfect sense.
Right.
And it just... Yeah, it's just frustrating that came up again. Like, and that was the thing that got me, is it just seemed like it came out of nowhere.
Right.
But I guess, assholes got an asshole.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was... Okay. Like, I think I said on Twitter, it's like, wait, have these people been watching the past 7 episodes, or are they too busy being assholes? It's just...
right.
And a counter to your, which is the most useless entourage, again, Nathan on Facebook, the TV show Entourage is still the most useless entourage.
Man.
It's... I think the big thing, and this has kind of been the trend I've seen a lot in... like the Game of Thrones fan base, is this idea that we had one of the best TV shows ever made for about 4 to 5 seasons, and then these last few episodes have been good episodes, or good seasons of a TV show. But compared to what came earlier, it doesn't feel like it's quite at the same bar.
I mean, so I have a slight counter to that, and I could have been slightly biased as well. I thought the episode before this, like the Calm Before the Storm episode, was one of my favorite episodes of Game of Thrones ever.
I agree, actually, 100% with that sentiment.
And so, because it gave me, like, again, I'm watching Game of Thrones for the character moments and for these character relationships, and so that episode was so much of everything that I wanted in Game of Thrones. So I went from that, and then Endgame that week, and then into that battle, where like here's one of the best payoff movies I've ever seen. Here's one of the best payoff episodes I've ever seen from Game of Thrones, and then to this battle that I really don't care about and I was pretty bored in. Like I think my expectations were a little high, and maybe that's why I was bored. But again, I felt this way even with like Battle of the Bastards at certain points where I was like, okay, I get the fighting. I'm done. Like you need to move on.
Yeah, the problem where you have an hour to fill and only a battle to fill it.
Right.
You kind of
like I can only see shots of of whites charging the castle so many times before I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched Two Towers, and I think again it's a good one to throw out because this is the one that they themselves have said was a major influence on this episode. I don't think we're in that battle the entire time it's on screen. I think it does cut away to Frodo and Sam a few times, and I think it definitely does cut away to Merry and Pippin.
And the thing is, too, is that even when I went back and watched Helm's Deep, the battle has a lot of great character moments within the battle. And I know Game of Thrones really isn't that kind of show, right? It isn't the kind of show where you're gonna get banter, but like the Gimli Legolas counting moments where they're counting kills, when Gimli tells Aragorn to throw him because he can't make the jump from the bridge to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like,
don't tell the elf.
Yeah, don't tell the elf. Like stuff like that, right? Where it really helps sell these character moments and like get you into a different headspace than just here's 3 guys fighting CG whatever or extras for 30-40 minutes, right?
Right.
And that's what the battle for me really turned into, was just like here's extras fighting for about 20 minutes.
Here's extras fighting and dying, so your main cast doesn't have to.
Right, and it took away from it a little bit, and I would have liked to see a little more parody within that. There were some great conversation moments where we got that with Sansa and Tyrion in the crypt, which I liked.
Yeah.
But again, it's just stuff where I wish I would have loved for that episode to be a shorter one, and I think it would have been a lot tighter and a lot cleaner.
Yeah. Shorter, tighter is better, especially in this situation.
Like, I would have, if you flipped the times around where the long episode was those character moments that we got in the Calm Before the Storm episode, and then the shorter episode was this one, I think that would have been fantastic. But
yeah.
Again, that's a personal preference, and I understand, like, I'm a little bit coming at it from a different angle, but, like, kind of done with battle sequences. Kind of done.
Yeah. It's... Well, I mean, that's just a general problem that you will find anywhere, that a lot of people just don't like action battle sequences.
I love them. I think this one was too long.
Yeah. And I wonder if it would have played better if it had been not at night, but you needed it to be at night just from story purposes.
But the thing is, I love that it's at night, and I love the lighting elements that they use with the ring, with Melisandre and the Ring of Fire, right? The fire trench. I love that. I think that's great. I think there's a lot of cool moments in there. And again, not that I don't like the episode, I just thought I was bored at times, and I think there's great moments in those, and I just need them to tighten it up a little.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's fine. But I think the fact that it's so stretched out made it so I was bored.
How long is that episode?
It's 82 minutes.
Oof. Yeah, they could have done a standard 60, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have loved you... Because I would have loved it if they took that extra 20 minutes and put it at the end of that.
Of yesterday's, or not the last episode prior. Yes, I agreed, 100%. I would have... I didn't want that episode to end.
No, that episode was fantastic. And I would have loved it if... I know it ends on Podrick's song, right? Which is awesome and it's great. I would have loved for them to be sitting around the fire doing whatever, and then someone to barge in and be like, they're here. And then they cut to black, right?
Or I think we get the 3... Do we get the 3 trumpet blasts?
I don't remember.
I'll have to go back to that episode to see if we get the 3, like the 1 Rangers returning, 2 Wildlings, 3 oh shit.
Yeah, like I would have loved something. I would have loved stuff like that where it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, I think I'm kind of like you, where it's like there are parts I definitely like in that episode, but you could always wish and hope that someone does better.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with criticizing it, being like, hey, you guys could have done this better.
No, absolutely not. I think, and the thing with Weiss and Benioff is like they have such tight writing most of the time that this is I don't think the action set pieces are to playing a Game of Thrones strengths. I really don't. I think that the dialogue and the character moments are where you really get that.
Yeah, it's because one of my... I think I finally saw someone give an excellent counter to the online argument that Benioff and Weiss don't know how to handle character moments by pointing out the fact that some of our favorite character moments in the Game of Thrones series that are not from the books came from them. Like, in the books, Arya isn't with Tywin Lannister.
Right.
It is actually, it's the Roose Bolton.
Right.
In the book. But we get this amazing back and forth because they thought it would work better having those 2 characters on screen together. So there's a lot of flack that gets thrown at them, but at the same time, it's like, no, there's for every dud moment, how many of those dead moments were for them following a plot point from the books only to realize the plot point was irrelevant for the series, and so they just killed it.
Right. And I think that...
Like the Sand Snakes.
Right. And I think the cool thing that they do is they're willing to take a shot in the dark. And, like, when you do that, you're going to have some duds. And you're also going to have some massive hits.
Yeah.
But I think that more so than their writing, I think they have a great understanding of the characters and a great understanding of the source material. And so it allows them to take a little more risks and be a little more successful with those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's...
Yeah. Just think they're going to be doing Star Wars next.
I know. I'm super excited.
Speaking of, hey, James, let's switch that up to Star Wars.
I want their Old Republic so bad.
I know, it's like now the debate is who's doing Old Republic and who's not.
It has to be them. It has to be.
I think it's them.
It has to be.
I personally think it's them, but then at least the question of what's Rian Johnson doing.
Rian Johnson's doing something else. They already confirmed he's doing something else. It's not Old Republic.
But I don't think they've said a single thing about...
the Wise and Benioff one? No, but we had rumors that they're doing Old Republic, and I want it. I want it so bad.
So... I think this might be one of those cases where I had done the thing and you didn't with the list.
Right. So I looked at your list. So anyone wondering, Logan made a list of essential Star Wars Old Republic Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Clone Wars episodes to watch.
And I'm putting a link to them. Whoop, that's not what I want. I'm going to throw a link to them, to the PDF versions of them in the comments.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, I was going to do a list. And after looking at yours, I figured I shouldn't because you pretty much hit it on the nose. And the thing that I always hate about lists like this, because I watch a lot of anime, right? So like a lot of times when you're watching a longer anime or something that's been, or like a shonen that's been around for a long time, there's a lot of filler in there because they're waiting for the manga to catch up.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of filler and there's a lot of like superfluous episodes that don't really matter. And Clone Wars has a bunch of those. Rebels not so much, but like Clone Wars has a lot of that. And so the thing that I always hate about like filler lists and like filler free lists is a lot of the time within those fillers you get a lot of great character moments, or there's like key moments or characters within those that are great.
Yeah.
And so you lose a lot of that when you when you don't watch any of the fillers. The thing with your list that's great is you have a good mix of those where you have a lot of episodes that have a lot of the character balance in there.
So to give you my organizing methodology for anyone who is looking and following along, basically I created a list for Clone Wars and a list for Rebels where the idea is if you only watch all the episodes on this list, you basically get a full, complete rundown of each series. But within that list, I also have two tiers.
Right.
So the ones that are highlighted in black and bolded. So in like Clone Wars, I'll pull that one up first. Like Clone Cadets and Rookies are black. Those ones are the ones where I'm like, if you are only going to watch as few episodes as you can, but you still want to get a full idea of how this series worked and everything in it, watch those episodes.
Right.
So it's almost like because there's some episodes in here where I think that they have important arcs or important stories that are worth watching, but at the same time, if they were not in this series at all, I don't think anyone's going to be missing out.
Right.
And those ones are the ones that are in white.
And I love that because if you look at most lists that are like essential episodes, it's only the ones that are going to be in black that you put in black.
Yeah. And I mean, the big thing too with like the Clone Wars list specifically is I think I cut out half of the episodes.
Right.
The one downside that I would say about this list is if you are a huge fan of bounty hunters, the Young Boba Fett episodes and the Cad Bane episodes are really are basically stripped out.
Right.
That's probably the only downside of this list, but at the same time, a lot of those story arcs could be, I don't want to say ignored, but if you're trying to just to have someone sit down and be like, here's a streamlined version of the series, it was the one arc set of arcs that I felt could be cut
Right.
and not negatively impact any of the other ones.
Right. Maybe you need a third tier. But then,
Yeah.
then you get into weird, like, yeah.
But even then, if you wanted to include those episodes in, I think it only adds like 6 or 7 episodes. It's not that
True,
much
true.
getting cut
But
in
I
that
mean,
regard.
still, when you think about how long your list is, it's not like 6 and 7 episodes is a lot considering you
Yeah.
only have about 30 to 40 episodes in here.
Yeah, so it's about half. Like, basically, Clone Wars I think it has around 120 episodes, and the list is only 60 long. And then Rebels has 75 episodes, but the list is about 50 long.
Right.
Rebels
Rose is a lot tighter.
Rebels is a lot tighter, and a lot of its filler episodes are actually character episodes as well, so they're harder to just get rid of.
Right. Like, dude, my favorite episode of Rebels is the Agent Callus and Zeb
where Zeb, when they're on the moon on Geonosis? Yeah.
Fall into the hole. You get stuck. Great.
One of my favorite episodes is the one that's totally hugely influenced by A New Hope. The one where it's Rex and Kanan have to go rescue Ezra from the interdictor cruiser.
Oh, yeah.
I love that episode. It's one of my favorite episodes. But I also have a theory. What?
I'm pulling stuff up on screen.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. I do have another theory on Clone Wars that I do want to run past you. That's an even shorter version of this.
Okay.
Because, then again, like, just for a bit of clarification, if you haven't watched our show before, which is probably everyone, we've been talking for a while about sharing a list of what we would consider essential episodes of Rebels and Clone Wars.
Right.
And while I was thinking about it, because I've been trying to convince my sister and some friends that, hey, you should still watch some Clone Wars because there's some really good moments in Star Wars in there. And I was like, what if I could only have them watch 10 episodes of Clone Wars? What would I do? And I came up with, I call it personally my Fives theory.
Right.
And the theory goes, if Fives is a central figure in the episode, that is an episode to watch, and you watch it in chronological order. For people who aren't that familiar with Clone Wars or Star Wars in general, Fives is one of the named clone troopers in the Clone Wars series. And his arcs go through some pretty important stuff in terms of just like that are, I would say, are integral to what is going on in the political world building of Star Wars.
Sure.
But an interesting thing about that is if you do it that way, I think there's only about 14 episodes.
Right.
And then there's a few episodes you could drop. Like, one of the second episodes that features him, it's a season 1 episode where they're on an outpost and they get attacked by commando droids, and they aren't able to get anything out, and a lot of his entourage gets killed.
Right.
It's like, well, we can get rid of that one. And so if you kind of cut it down, it basically, I think it comes down to you only have about 12 episodes. There's only one outlier character that might require some outside explanation, and that's Asajj Ventress. For people who aren't familiar with the Clone Wars period, she's, again, to give an example of who she is, she's
like a bad... She's
an assassin for Dooku who's trained in the dark side.
Yeah, she's bald, she has 2 lightsabers, she's kind of cool.
Yeah, so she's like the one character that people who aren't familiar with Clone Wars will be like, who's that?
Right.
Because that has the episode where they're fighting on Kamino. But other than that...
I mean, you could just explain her as generic bad guy.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're not going any deeper than that, that's all you really need to know for that episode. But
I feel like that gives you a good 12-ish episodes that are very solid episodes, because you also have the Umbaran arc, and you have the Order 66 arc. And if you just top that off with the one episode that doesn't have Fives in it, the one that's immediately after the Order 66 arc, where Obi-Wan and Anakin are investigating Sifo-Dyas, you basically get a good middle piece between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
I could see that. That's actually a really good theory. I was actually thinking of something similar along those lines of, what if you just wanted to show someone Ahsoka? What if you wanted to just tell Ahsoka's story? Right? Like, how many episodes would that take? And Clone Wars would be quite a bit, because, like, you know, she's a big part of that series. But because I feel like anyone that's just watching movies knows Anakin and knows Obi-Wan, and like can infer and put pieces together of like the between episodes 2 and 3 of like their relationship growing, and like you really don't need to see that or their character growth told. And so like if you only showed Ahsoka character growth and character moments, how long would that take? And I started to like really look at it, and I was like, dude, you can actually do it within maybe like 40 episodes. And
I think most of them are in this list.
Right, most of them are in that list. But I mean, like, you can really take Ahsoka and just kind of break her down to 40 episodes, and then maybe 10 to 15 episodes of Rebels, and really get, here's Ahsoka.
Yeah, because one of the reasons I was thinking, especially, like, can I boil it down to 10 episodes, is we keep talking about doing our own little, especially with the lead up to Rise of Skywalker, where we try to marathon everything. Right. And it's like, you and I sitting down and like watching all of Clone Wars on our own time is no big deal.
Right. I can have it on in the background while I do something else.
Yeah, exactly. But if, say, we were because I sometimes would think it'd be nice, especially with the lead up to Rise of Skywalker, to be like, let's watch all the movies. And I was like, well, there's no way in hell I am going to be able to do like a viewing party where we let's watch 60 episodes of Star Wars Clone Wars. Right. It's like, no, the only person attending will be me. And
this James requires homework.
Yeah, James would be there only because he lives in the same apartment I do.
Oh, he would watch. James would watch. I believe in James.
James is giving us a shrug. I'm going to go with probably not.
James would pop in and out every once in a while.
Yeah. He'll ask, who's that? And I'll have to give him the 10-minute breakdown, and he'll be like, I regret every question I just asked. But it was like, my whole thing with the 10 episodes is like, if there was some way to fit in Clone Wars, because I feel like the Clone Wars TV series is basically one of the best parts of the prequel era.
Right.
Like, I'd want to have something from that in my own little marathon. It's like, how would I do that to where it could fit in and not take up so much time or require so much effort on the part of anyone who was participating.
Right.
And trying to just wedge it in, because you could call it a plus side or a downside. One of the things with the Fives arc is, or the Fives arc as I call it, is, or interestingly, no Ahsoka.
Right.
Which would bypass, because I still have had people, when I say you should watch Clone Wars, be like, but Ahsoka's annoying. It's like, that's their reason to not watch it.
Right.
Still, is they don't want to watch with Ahsoka, because their initial reaction to her is still from the movie, from when it came out, where she was
not developed yet.
And kind of I think they wrote her younger than they should have.
Right.
Because once they matured her up, she's
awesome. Yeah.
She's awesome. So, yeah, that's just. This has been something we've been talking about for a while, so we wanted to share with everyone.
Yeah,
and
I think it's a solid list. I think if you're looking to watch Clone Wars or Rebels at all, that's a solid list to start with. And of course, like if you find yourself really liking it or enjoying yourself, feel free to jump.
Oh, and and
watch everything else.
Yeah, but, one other note is the Clone Wars list specifically is if you are diving into Clone Wars and you're not familiar with it, this is just a bit of a fair warning. Clone Wars was developed and produced as an anthology series, which means that there are episodes that take place out of order chronologically. Right. The list that I have is in chronological order. So if you are going through and pulling from my list, it actually will tell you broadcast number and all that, so that way you could quickly find the correct episode, but you're not necessarily going to be watching it on, I don't think it's even on Netflix anymore, but if you go to load it up and just hit play with the first episode, you're not going to actually be getting things in order. So it's I know I'll make sure to include it in the show notes, but StarWars.com does have an official chronological list.
Right.
So that's just something to keep in mind if you do end up watching a few episodes and go, hey, I wanted to go in deeper. Realize that a lot of people, myself included, say the way to go about it, if you've never watched it before, is to watch it in chronological order, just because a lot of story beats make a bit more sense.
Right. I mean, they do the thing where they try to hide things behind the idea that like characters know things that you don't because of the way that the order is told.
Yeah.
And it just makes it hyper confusing.
But I think that's it for Star Wars. All
right, Endgame spoilers coming up, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Huge Endgame spoilers coming up. So, James, let's switch to movies. No, he was already on it. I look up and it was already switching.
There you go.
So, Chris, you and I have deliberately not talked about this movie with
it's been
each
hard,
other.
Because I wanted to talk to someone about this for a while, and like, the only person I have is Jenny and my dad, right? And my dad's like into it and had a conversation about it, and then Jenny's just kind of like, it was good. I really enjoyed it. And I was like,
that's good, because I think that's where I'm at.
That's as much conversation as I ever get from her.
Well, if it makes you feel better. It was
James.
good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. You have James, man. You can talk to James about it.
James still hasn't seen Infinity War.
Really?
James, I think you're going to need a voice up on this.
Wait.
Yeah, I have.
So are you like a Marvel person? Are you like invested in this or not?
No, absolutely
Okay.
not at all.
That's why. That's different, right?
I think
Like,
the last one you saw in theaters was Thor Ragnarok.
Correct.
which
Yeah.
is awesome. What a great one to see.
Yeah, that's a great one to go see in theaters. But
I mean, this one's better to see in theaters because like just the scale of it's incredible.
yeah, Caitlin and I we saw it at the Dolby Theater in Burbank.
Right.
So of course you have Dolby Atmos sound, Dolby Vision screen, so like one of the best images and sounds you can get. And when we booked our tickets, we were like, oh, well, because I'd been in that theater before. And I'm like, well, I sat in like row. I think I sat in like row D. I was like, well, row D wasn't too bad, so let's try row C. Forgetting that there's the huge aisle is in between like D and
Right.
C, and we were in C in one of the corners, and it was just like, okay, this is not the optimal
So did it
condition.
ruin your
but
experience of seeing the film?
I wouldn't say it ruined it, but there was a couple times where I was trying to be like, is this an odd cinematography choice or just the angle I'm watching it?
Sure. Have you seen it again since? Or
I
no?
have not seen it again
Okay.
since. I haven't had really had a good chance to see it again.
So I saw it opening night, also on that Thursday, and then I saw it again on Tuesday in IMAX. I would definitely highly recommend IMAX because that whole freaking movie is filmed in IMAX. So it just looks gorgeous the entire time. What a movie! I cried at least 4 times.
I choked up a bit.
Or at least choked up at least 6 or 7 times. There's a lot in that movie.
Yeah.
And I talked about this too, about like the cliche of sticking the landing. This is the definition of sticking the landing.
Yeah.
When you're talking about something that's been going on for this long, that has this much of a following, that has this much this many characters and elements and storylines to tie up and different things to do, there's a lot in there that's where you could easily mess this up.
Yeah, there was a lot of pratfalls they avoided.
Right, and they stuck the landing for 90-95% of it. Like, it's awesome, and it's almost everything that I wanted. So yeah.
Again, spoilers for Endgame.
Right.
The moment Cap picks up the hammer.
Yeah, I mean, like, as soon as
I love how Thor's like, I knew it!
yeah, but like I love it as not like the I'm proud for my friend, but it's the I fucking knew it.
I knew
Like-
it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like this guy, I knew he could do it. This asshole. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that, right? Where I love those.
I love how
that
it's like,
moment
oh,
that.
this asshole, but at the same time, I think part of his joy is, oh, you're about to get your butt kicked.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great. And like Cat wields that thing like a boss, right? So it's great. That gets the loudest cheer in the theater every time I see it. But yeah, there's great callbacks in there. And I talked to someone about it, and again, I know it's a cliche, and I put in the review that I wrote on Facebook too, of it really is a love letter to the MCU. There's so many callbacks, there's so many moments that are recreated, like literally and kind of figuratively too. There's so many like parallels you can draw from other films. It's an incredible achievement to have a film like this.
Well, the thing, I think my big take on this is, I think a lot of other series have tried to do this. Case in point, Justice League.
Right.
Where they've tried to have this big, heroic, final showdown battle type thing. And it falls flat because they haven't put in 20 plus films and 10 years of work.
Right.
Like, Endgame is, I feel like, what Hollywood always tries to do with a comic book film, but fails when they do it. Like
Right.
X-Men Apocalypse
Right.
is, I think, a big example of that. Where it's
Right.
supposed to be this big climactic final showdown,
like,
and
so-
it just like it always seems to fall flat. Whereas MCU will just, like you said, it's stuck to the landing.
Right, and like this is something that I've always someone brought up the other day of it's like that big fight scene at the end of Ready Player One where you're like, there's Godzilla and Gundams and every character that you like know in pop culture, and they're all fighting each other.
And he's flying
and
in
it's awesome.
on a Firefly.
Right, and it's awesome and it's amazing, right? But I don't give a shit about any of these people.
Right.
And then you watch Infinity War and you're like, oh my god, it's all the characters that I really care about.
Because
And
I've been watching them for 10 years.
Right, and it's every character I've wanted fighting, and it's so cool. And brings, as soon as Cap says Avengers Assemble and that charge happens, and you see every character start to split off and fight sort of in their own pockets and like interact with each other and do all this other stuff. Like I choke up every time I see it.
Dude, it's one of those moments where the moment it happens, you're just like, oh shit.
Your mouth is wide open for that last 40 minutes. It is incredible to watch.
Yeah, it was. In the theater, I was kind of like, oh shit, this is about to get crazy.
Yeah.
Though I need to watch it again because this is a state of, I'm not sure if my seating condition was impacting me or if it was the film itself. But there were points in that fight where I was having trouble keeping track of everything going on.
Right. I guarantee it's the angle.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on there, and especially if you don't have optimal viewing angle, you really can't see everything that's going on.
But still was kind of just like the moment and that's the thing too, is I actually at one point, because everyone's been theorizing for a while that Steve Rogers was going to meet his end in this movie.
Sure.
Like the moment where the shield is broken, Cap is still standing, and he's about to fight.
I thought he was going to die.
I thought he was going to die. I thought it was going to be one-on-one, him and Thanos, because he's just not going to give up.
Right.
Because that's not what he would do.
Right. And I was a little disappointed because I did want
I did kind of want that fight.
No, I wanted the Avengers Assemble moment, right? So I want I they'd been building to that for so long and teasing that for so long that I wanted that moment. And so when he pulls the strap tighter and he's ready to go into that final battle, I was like, damn, is he really going to die here before he gets to say Avengers Assemble? Like, are we really going to get that?
I didn't think... It was one of those cases where I wasn't sure if he was going to die in that moment before he said it, but it was one of those ones where I felt like he was probably going to be like a bloody pulp.
Right.
After that fight with Thanos. Thanos is going to monologue because,
sure,
that's what needs to happen. And then we get a killer moment, but I thought we were about to see the end, but then the On Your Left.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's what a callback, right? Like the On Your Left. There's a couple problems. I had not a problem, I guess, but I was a little sad that we didn't get we get the panning shot of everyone. I would have loved to see one big wide with everyone.
Yeah, that was one thing I was thinking about. That's something I know Joss Whedon had made a big point of in Avengers, in the Avengers movie.
That circle shot.
The circle shot.
Right.
And again in
Age of Ultron. They have two moments in there. There's the turnaround and there's the one at the beginning.
The one at the very beginning where they're in the fight, and then at the end when they're in the church.
Right.
In Age of Ultron, where there is this one shot that is showing them working as a unit, and I don't feel like we really got that in this movie.
It's everyone kind of working together. The closest we get is the female moment.
Yeah.
Which I thought was incredible and awesome.
Yes.
One of my favorite moments of the entire film. And I love how it's kind of symbolic in a way of... So obviously Captain Marvel doesn't need help getting through that because she can just... If you notice too, and I laugh...
Well, she got punched.
I laugh every time because she Peter Parker hands her the gauntlet and goes like...
Tries to introduce himself?
Well, no, he goes like, I don't know how you're going to get this through all there, right? And all the women come over and they're like, oh, no, she has help. And they all go. But dude, she flies right past all of them and just blows her way through the whole thing because she can, right? Because she's so strong, she can.
Dude, I love the punch that she takes from Thanos, and she's just like, "Is that it?"
The headbutt.
The headbutt, and it's just like not even phased. So he has to use the Power Stone to punch her.
Well, I love what a move, right? To like take it out of the gauntlet that she's holding and then punch her with the other fist. What a great move, right?
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a great symbolic thing of sure she doesn't need help to get the gauntlet through that army, but she has the other female heroes kind of helping pave the way.
Yeah.
And it is sort of a symbolic thing at that point, which I thought was great. The only sad part to me was that Scarlett Johansson didn't get to be a part of that moment because I love the moment she had. I love the sacrifice moment. That kills me every time too. But I think like I understand for story reasons why she's not there. I understand for sort of like it's a better film that she's not there because she does get her moment.
Yeah. But right in her Ledger bit.
Right. They're letting her Ledger bit and like sort of getting the only family back that she's ever had kind of a thing. And I love it. I think her arc is perfect the way it is, but I would have loved for her to be in that final battle and like have that moment with them since she is kind of the first one.
I guess this is a question I had the moment she died. I was like, so wait, isn't there a Black Widow movie in development, or is that just, okay? So it's still in development. Okay.
So I would assume the rumor is it's a prequel, and it goes back to the flashback that she had for Age of Ultron, where she's in the Red Room and training and doing all that stuff.
Red Room training, right? And then Budapest.
Right. Maybe. And yeah, maybe it ends with her meeting Hawkeye and him kind of inducting her into Shield. Right. Maybe that's a thing.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it when I went to see it. But this is something that I've been thinking about because I almost view, and I think we've talked about this. I don't think we've talked about it on air, but I think we've talked about it, how I almost kind of view Star Wars and Marvel in two different tiers.
Sure.
And I was trying to put into terms, and this might not be the best term for it, and personally, I think it's a little derogatory given how much I enjoy the Marvel films. Sure. But I was thinking about how often it seems like the Marvel movie comes out, everyone tells the jokes for about 2 months, then the next trailer comes out, and then the jokes from the last movie kind of die off, and then the new jokes take over.
Sure.
Are the Marvel films, for as much as I enjoy them, are they a meme blockbuster?
No, I don't think so. I think like because those films still hold up, and people still talk about all the old films too, right? And I think the thing with Marvel that makes it so unique and special is it's the idea that when a new one comes out, there's such a spike in activity for all of the old ones as well, whether it's Netflix or like even going on like torrent sites and you see what people are downloading and things like that, right? You see everyone's like, dude, if you go on like a torrent site right now and you're like, what are people downloading right now? It's all the Marvel films because they're watching it after watching Endgame, right? And it's something that, and I think Netflix even put out a thing of like, hey, all these Marvel films are like, if you go on Netflix, like the front page is all Marvel, right? And so I think that when a new film comes out, it just reinvigorates the appetite for the other films as well. And you see a lot of the jokes come back, and I think that they're self-referential enough where, like, dude, the Hail Hydra joke in here, right, is one of the most perfect callbacks and setups I've seen in any film.
Oh, right? Yeah, the moment he runs into them on the elevator, I'm like, are we getting the elevator fight again?
Right, are we getting the elevator fight again? Because they set it up. It's shot the exact same way. The moment of the big guy with the ponytail grabbing his gun, right? There's the same... Everyone in there is the same extra. The black guy that's there with the bead of sweat running down his face, they don't do the bead of sweat moment, but he's there next to Cap where he was before. Rumlow's in the same spot. They have the same conversation, and then they completely turn... They set it up like, we're going to give you this fight again. And then they turn it on its head, and then he's like, oh, he learned.
Yeah,
he knows this scenario right now. The best
because right now the scenario isn't fight them; it is get the thing.
Right. The best thing I saw was there's a meme that was playing. It was like the scene from Winter Soldier is like playing through the level the first time, and it's the scene from Endgame, and it's like playing through it the second time when you know how to beat it, like stuff like that, right? Where it's great. But yeah, I mean, to me, it shot straight to the top of my tier list, right? So I think now it has supplanted Winter Soldier finally as my top MCU film. And I was reluctant to do that at first because I didn't know. Because, dude, Winter Soldier is infinitely rewatchable. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And so seeing Endgame the second time, I got choked up in even more moments the second time. And I was fully engaged the entire time. I caught a lot more stuff that I hadn't caught before, and like it made me want to go see it again. Like I want to go see it another 3 or 4 times before it comes out of theaters. I think it's a movie that I was scared wasn't going to be rewatchable, and then now going back and rewatching it, it's something that I want to keep going back and seeing it, right? And that to me made it shoot straight to the top of my list. But yeah, I think there's no even thinking going back to it, and I really took time to like think through all the beats of it. And it's 3 hours long, but there's no wasted time there.
It's one of the few times you can go to a 3-hour long movie and you're not sitting there going, well, you could have cut this, you could have cut that.
There's only one sequence in there that I could have cut, and it's to me one of the best scenes in the movie. And I was like, okay, I understand why they didn't cut it. And it's the sequence of Cap in the support group.
Yeah.
You really don't need that scene because you understand the devastation and you understand how that affects people.
No, I would actually disagree. I would say that scene needs to stay in for his character.
Sure, for his character.
The one scene I would have cut, if I had cut any scene, would have been because I think it would have been a nicer mystery if they were like, you're going to tell us about the girl, if they didn't cut to him with her.
So
that's the only one I would have cut.
So my dad had that same thought of like, they should have just ended it with Cap saying like, are you going to tell about her? No. And then cut.
Yeah.
Right? And I agree with it to a certain extent, but to me, it's the payoff. It's not the payoff of seeing him with Peggy, because we understand that he's with Peggy, and we know, right? It's not. Yeah. We don't need the validation.
It was one of those cases where I felt like we didn't need to see it to know that it was her.
We don't need to know. Well, we don't need to. We understand that it's her. We don't need to see it. But I needed to see it, and I needed to see not him with her. I needed to see them dance.
Yeah, because it was the dance that they never got.
Right. To me, it has nothing to do with, oh, we know it's Peggy. To me, it's he got his dance, and that made me happy, and to me completed his arc, right? Because all he wanted the entire time, the only thing he wants is that dance back.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yes, you can insinuate that they're together, but to me, it's different of them being together and them specifically showing us the dance, right? That's to me the important part.
Fair argument.
Right.
Yeah. No, I guess my whole thing with like to go back to my whole meme blockbuster thing is I sometimes find that as much as I enjoy watching a Marvel movie, I'll watch it like once or twice in the theaters. I'll watch it a couple times at home. Mm-hmm. And then I usually won't go back to it. Like I can't remember the last time I watched any of the Iron Man movies.
Right.
Or Avengers.
Right. I think we're just different because like I consistently have those on repeat. So like if I'm bored, I'll throw one on.
Yeah, but I think also part of it too is because May the 4th was yesterday, so Star Wars of course has been on my mind.
Sure.
It is, as much as people like can disagree over whether or not The Last Jedi was successful. The big theme with The Last Jedi is that Lucasfilm took a risk over the storytelling.
Right.
That I don't think Marvel would have in their standalone films. I think that to me is the big difference between Star Wars and Marvel.
Sure.
Is that there's more of a... I enjoy Marvel films.
Sure. They're formulaic
like them.
To a certain extent.
They're formulaic, and I think...
But I think
film-wise, I think Star Wars has transcended from being a blockbuster to, like with Empire Strikes Back specifically,
right.
Goes from blockbuster to wonderful piece of cinema.
Right.
And I don't feel like I can make that argument with any of the Marvel films.
No, not yet. And the thing I think we have to realize is like, as much as it seems like a decade's a long time, and it is a long time, and it is a lot of movies, Star Wars has had 4 decades of this, right? So I mean, they've had time to evolve and grow and sort of see their process and understand and be a part of this cultural. They are a part of the cultural zeitgeist, right? Like they are embedded in our culture of like world culture, right? And I think Marvel is there as well. I think the movies are so young at this point, and I think that while they are a huge part of the culture, they're not cemented the way Star Wars is yet.
But my question is, if like Endgame was it, let's like hypothetical, Endgame was the last Marvel movie.
Sure.
All of a sudden, Disney's like, you know what? We don't like money, and they just stopped making Marvel films. I was sitting there going, a lot of the reason Star Wars stuck around is because it kept coming back.
Right.
But 10 years from now, if this had been it, would Marvel have the same cultural impact in 10 years as Star Wars did 10 years out from it?
Right.
And admittedly, we will never know the answer to that, because it wouldn't shock me at all if someone has a calendar for 30 years out with the Marvel schedule.
It's in Kevin Feige's drawer somewhere.
Kevin Feige's drawer somewhere. Someone at Disney has like the calendar of the next 30 years of releases, and 90% of them are Marvel films.
I mean, we know the next like 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. So it's not like we're ever going to know the answer to that. But hypothetically, I sometimes do wonder if. Again, it goes to my idea of, are these a meme blockbuster?
Sure. I mean, I would think it's different. Like, what if this was 22 films over 22 years, right?
Yeah.
Or 22 films over 40 years, where we get one every other year, right? Would that change things a little? Possibly. Because I think the problem is, like, Endgame's great, and it's going to have an impact culturally.
Yes.
And I think that just how great the film is, I think it's going to sit culturally a lot better than the other ones will. And I think the way that it wraps up stories, I think it will. But we're going to sit with that for 2 months, and then here comes Far From Home.
Yeah,
right?
That's, I think, the big advantage Marvel has, that...
It's always in the conversation.
It's always going to be in the conversation.
Right.
It's never going to not be a part of the conversation.
Right.
And as long as it's always a part of the conversation, it's going to be culturally relevant. But...
Right. But I think, like, in terms of your thing of staying power, I think these characters have staying power, right? Like, obviously, because they've been around for 50, 60 years at this point, right? But I think the films, the problem, again, is like, dude, with Star Wars, how many times have I watched A New Hope? How many times have I watched Empire Strikes Back, right? And it goes back to, we had nothing else, right?
But I think my thing is, people will still make a Luke, I am your father reference.
Right.
The same way they will make a Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Or they will make a Play It Again Sam reference. I don't know if a lot of the Marvel references have existed. Like, they are strong and they're prominent on the internet, but if you go outside of our internet geek group and go to random person up on the street and said, on your left, how many people are going to get the reference?
Right. So I think there's a couple reasons for that. I'm kind of getting to is there's it's at a point with Marvel where these films don't have enough time to sit by themselves, where you're not going to watch it over and over again because you have other things to look forward to, right? Yeah. So it's like Marvel's constantly not only fighting for your attention against other people, but also fighting against themselves for attention. Because as much as I want to watch Endgame 100 times, I'm probably going to watch Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man's going to be my new thing to go watch. You know what I mean? Like, and so there's just not enough time to like sit with these films for a long time, because they're always constantly being replaced with the new Marvel film. So you don't get something that's going to carry. Also, I think that there's so much Marvel that, like, if you're someone like James, that, like, this is, like, James is not an uncommon thing where they've seen, like, one or two.
Hold on. Just a bit of clarification. James is amazing and he's very rare, but when it comes to knowledge of Marvel...
Right. Like in terms of, like, Marvel people, James is not an uncommon thing where you've only seen maybe a handful of them and you're not super invested, right?
Yeah.
Where Star Wars, if you've, like, there's not a lot of investment time in Star Wars and you've had 40 years to invest. So most people have seen Star Wars, or at least the original trilogy, to where there is a cultural relevance there, or at least the lines have resonated enough,
or they've been around long enough, like the whole Luke, I am your father
right.
bit. It's like even if they have never seen Star Wars, they know that
bit, right? And so the idea that Marvel A hasn't been around that long, and B, there's so much of it that it's hard to keep track of if you're not on the nose with it. And so there's just a breadth of content where you're like, I'm completely lost. Like if you can't watch Endgame without seeing the other ones, because you're gonna be so confused at some of these moments.
No, it's not a standalone piece.
No, you're gonna be so confused, right?
You need to watch Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, they made Thor: The Dark World relevant. It's so weird. The movie at the top of my tier list referenced and has a scene set in the lowest movie on my tier list. What? How? It made me go back and watch Thor: The Dark World. Seriously, because I went back and I watched it because I was like, dude, there's a scene in there with Natalie Portman, right? And spoiler, whatever. We're talking spoilers this entire time.
What?
So there's a scene of Natalie Portman getting off of a sofa, and then Rocket Raccoon's behind her, ready to like stick her with a thing to like take the stone out of her, right? I had to go back and watch Thor: The Dark World to see, is that a new scene? Did they get Natalie Portman back to get off of a couch? And yes, they did. That's not Rocket Raccoon superimposed in a shot.
I looked into it more. What it is they brought her back for ADR. All the footage was unused footage from Thor: The Dark World.
Okay.
So she was involved, but she didn't have to go on set. She just had to go to a studio booth in like Burbank.
Okay. Fantastic. Because I was literally like, did they rebuild this set so that she can get off a couch and then superimpose a raccoon behind her? But no, okay, cool. If it's unused footage, that's great. Yeah. Okay. It makes me feel a lot better about the way the budget was used for this film.
Because I had that same question too. I was just like, I don't remember admittedly, I haven't watched Thor: The Dark World since it was in theaters. But at the same time, I was just like, I don't remember this entire sequence at all in Thor: The Dark World. And this is, I think, new footage of Natalie. Did they bring back Natalie? Like, how much did Natalie Portman get paid to come back? Like, dude, $1 million.
Dude, this literally has the last shot that Robert Redford ever filmed.
I know, this is the craziest thing to think about. How Robert Redford is retired from acting, so his last movie is Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, dude, the Russos, it was either the Russos or Marcus and McFeely talking about Robert Redford, and they were saying, yeah, he filmed Endgame, did his scene, and then was like, that's it. Like, he literally said on set, like, that's it.
I'm done?
I'm done.
Oh my god. Oh.
Okay. What a movie.
No, it's again, they put in the legwork.
Yeah. It's the dedication to sticking with the story for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of moments that get to me. Like I
have to shout it out just because if I don't, Caitlin, who probably won't watch this anyway, will still be like, did you bring it up? She loved Fat Thor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think like the trope of making him fat is like really easy. I think that's sort of like a easy joke. My thing is that I loved with it is the commitment to it, right?
Yeah, that was. I don't think the thing was, oh god, he's fat. It was like, just the dedication.
The dedication to because you're waiting for. All right, they're gonna have a training montage. He can get fit again, or like, hey, they're gonna do a thing where like when the lightning hits him and he summons both weapons, like he's gonna get
shredded.
Yeah, but then no, he just does it, and then he's still fat. He's fat through the whole like end battle sequence, and it's great. No, dude, the moment that gets me every time, and maybe it's me having a daughter, but it's the thing of when she's sitting with Happy at the end, and it's
I'm gonna buy you all the cheeseburgers.
Yeah, it's and everyone always goes to like the moment everyone talks about is the your dad liked cheeseburgers as the line.
Yeah.
No, to me it's the line, I'll get you as many cheeseburgers as you want.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you understand, like it's the thing of Happy saying, I took care of your dad and your dad took care of me. And it's my turn now to help him and take like my final act of friendship and kind of partnership with Tony is going to be to take care of you now for the rest of my life, right?
Okay.
And it gets to me every time.
Slight theory about Spider-Man Far From Home that has been percolating in my head. So we know that Peter Parker disappeared, but we don't know that Aunt May or if Happy disappeared.
Oh, you think they were...
I think because the whole awkward bit in the trailer where he's like, what was going... I wonder if they got together in the 5-year period.
That's a weird one.
And then they're like, how do we tell Peter?
That's a weird one. So, also, there's problems here too. Like,
God, like how everyone in his class apparently got dusted.
Yeah, like, so my thing was, so obviously when he goes back to school, Ned kind of tears up and cries seeing Peter again. My thing was, is it just that they're emotional that they're finally all back alive? Because they don't know, right?
Yeah,
they have no idea.
He even said it in the movie. He's like, the wizard said that it's been 5 years and then Iron Man needs us.
They don't know, right? So like they don't know that they've been dead.
But then, the entire class apparently just got dusted.
And so they're doing it for the age reasons, of course. But like obviously they're not. But why would Ned be so emotional if he had no idea? And I guess it's emotional just of like the idea of everything being very emotional, but also the way they played the scene was like that Ned didn't get dusted, and so now Peter's back, and so
like how long was he held back?
Right. I mean, it just that's the way the scene played. But obviously that's not the case. But I mean, it reads differently, right? But yeah, other than like small issues like that, like nitpicky things, yeah, dude, to me it was the masterclass of like what these films could be.
Yeah. Though I do wonder, because looking at what the last 2 Avengers movies have accomplished, I think
it's going to be hard to come back and do another one.
Hard to come back to top this. And at the same time, it seems like the only times that a lot of these films actually kind of give deeper character moments is when they have an Avengers movie where there's a 2-movie arc.
Right.
And I think that's... I mean, we have character movements in the standalone films, but it's...
Well, I think that's kind of the beauty of Marvel, where it is... I consider Marvel, the cinematic universe, like a TV series.
Yeah.
And, like, that's kind of the way they are.
This is like the... this season 3 Buffy finale.
Right. Like, it is just like a big TV show.
Yeah.
Which I love. And like the thing someone brought up the other day too was they're setting themselves up perfectly for Young Avengers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Netflix rumors are really talking to that as well. So like for anyone that doesn't know, Young Avengers are what it sounds like. It's like a young team of Avengers. And so Cassie Lang is a part of that group. They aged her up, right? Maria Rambeau's daughter, I forgot her name, but she's in the little girl in Captain Marvel. Obviously, that was set in the 90s, so she's now older.
Yeah.
She's on that team as well. Kate Bishop, who's Hawkeye's protege, is also part of Young Avengers, which they could do his daughter at this point, which they showed her training up. Or there's a rumor that...
Well, that was rumored for a while. Yeah, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
We're like, is this his daughter or is he training someone to be a Hawkeye?
And then Kate Bishop is rumored to be in the new Hawkeye Netflix series. Or not, Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
So that also sets up.
Well, we also now know how they can do a Loki series.
Right. So there's a lot of different things that they could be doing here.
Also, they set up a multiverse.
Yeah.
Like for the first time in any of the Marvel films, like they actually.
I mean,
I think Strange hinted at it, but this one really set it up.
Right, dude. They got Tilda Swinton back to do like a pretty prominent role in this film
for like one scene too. That's what's crazy. Is like I did not expect that.
Dude, this film's awesome. They got so many people come back. And I think that it wouldn't have been the same if they didn't do these moments. And you could see the attention to detail and like the love and care that was put into this film, and it comes across on screen, right? I loved it. I can't gush enough about this movie. Really.
Yeah. No, it's
the closest we're ever gonna get to a comic book on screen.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I remember that's been kind of like the story of Avengers, the film specifically, the Avengers in MCU has been the idea that they are the closest to like what craziness can happen in a comic book series.
Right.
can only really happen in the Avengers standalone or
Right.
the Avengers pieces.
Films. Or Civil War, which
Or
is
Civil
kind of like a Avengers Light.
2.5.
Avengers Light, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm excited for where they're going. I want to see where they go from here because we know we have a couple. So we have like 3 or 4 sequels coming up. So we have Spider-Man coming up. There's Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, Guardians 3, which now I'm super excited for because it has Thor in it. And
As Guardians of the Galaxy.
well, someone brought this up. Someone said that they really want it to be called As Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Oh
Right.
God, they should totally do that.
They want that to be the title, but also, I mean, one of the main reasons these people stop doing these films, one, because it's a lot of time investment and it's a lot of time to be one character for, and
A
not-
decade, yeah.
right. But the other part of it is like, dude, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., and Chris Hemsworth don't really want to work out. It's the same problem that the Hugh Jackman had playing Wolverine. Dude, it takes a lot of work to be that jacked
all the time.
all the time, right? To be ready to film these things. And so I could see that being exhausting on your life. And just kind of at a certain age, you just get tired of it and want to move on. But dude, if they keep Thor fat, Chris Hemsworth can do these for a long time.
Yeah.
Like a long time.
And I honestly thought they were going to keep Mjolnir or
Mjolnir?
it depends on whatever
they put him
franchise you're
back.
in. They put it back, but at first I thought that they were going to keep it, and that was going to become like Valkyrie's scene, and we were going to get like what they did in the Thor comics, where female Thor.
Right.
But
No, that has to be Jane Foster. I love the idea that they're keeping legacy characters too. So like for anyone that doesn't know, legacy characters in the comics refer to the idea that Captain America is a legacy character. It won't always be Steve Rogers, but the legacy of Captain America carries onwards. Same goes for Iron Man. There are multiple Iron Men. Iron Man is the legacy, and then the character of Tony Stark is the one that can come and go. So obviously with him passing the torch to Falcon, like he does in the comics, then they're taking this idea of legacy characters into the MCU, which I love.
yeah, it's the title can be inherited.
Right, the title, and so so that's basically the thing of it. But yeah, so we know we have those sequels going on. We have Shang-Chi being in pre-development. I think that has a director at this point.
I think they did announce a director. I don't remember who.
There's a Black Widow prequel that we talked about. Scarlet Witch just got announced that she's rumored. Worst kept secret ever because everyone talks about it, but they're not allowed to officially talk about it. But that she's going to be a producer on the film as well, and possibly looking for a director, maybe her. So she could be starring, producing, and directing in this Black Widow film, which could be very cool.
Okay.
And then we have Eternals, which is going to have Angelina Jolie, from what the rumors are telling us.
Yeah.
What else is there? They tease Neymar in Endgame.
The earthquake in the Atlantic.
Yeah, they tease Neymar in there, and there's a couple
Though
other
I
teases.
don't know if they're going to use Neymar. I think it was it might have been just an earthquake. Neymar rights are still with Universal.
True, but they could.
So-
I think they're just seeding things in very slowly here.
It might be the same Hulk exception.
Yes,
Where the character rights are still held by Marvel, but a standalone film would be held by Universal.
right. So they could very easily do a Hulk thing with him, and I think the Hulk and Neymar rights revert back very soon if they don't do anything with them. Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I
It
remember
could be one
reading
of those
something about
cases
it.
where, well, first off, I don't think Universal would probably only fight for it because they probably just look at it as, well, Disney's going to pay for it. We might
Right.
as well make money off it. But I don't think they have any plans to make anything with either of those characters
No,
anytime
and
soon.
so I think they're maybe seeding stuff in
As
down
just
the
in
line
case.
just in case. Because remember, dude, Wakanda got referenced in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Right.
Wakanada.
Wakanada, and that got referenced a full 10 movies before we got Black Panther. The Marvel's been very good about making the world pretty consistent about planning ahead. So yeah, I think I'm very excited for where they're going. I think that this was such a big bombastic kind of finale. I'm very excited for them to go back and scale it down a little bit.
They made the universe bigger, but that also means you can more easily tell a smaller story.
Right. There's a rumor of a, speaking of your multiverse thing, there's a theory that, so there was a leak or a rumor that a trailer for Far From Home is coming out soon.
The
Tuesday.
rumor I'm hearing is, Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, so Tuesday. And then in that trailer, Nick Fury refers to...
It comes with a spoiler warning, apparently.
Right.
That's
So-
the theory, is that the trailer for Far From Home
Right.
comes with a burned-in spoiler warning for Endgame.
So the idea that Magneto, or Mysterio, sorry, not Magneto, Mysterio, but they both wear fucking things on their head and they have capes.
And they both...
Yeah. So Mysterio... Nick Fury says that Mysterio comes from another multiverse or another dimension, something like that, another Earth.
Yeah.
And so that could be another seed of like this multiverse thing, dude.
It's also probably how Loki's going to come back for
Right.
the Loki series.
And the thing is too, and people got to realize, a couple more Doctor Strange films and we're there. Couple like
I don't even think we need two. I think we could just do it in one.
because like everyone wants the next big bad. I want it to be Doctor Doom. Obviously, they're not set up for that because they have to set up Fantastic Four and all kinds of other stuff. And like,
Yeah.
Doctor Doom is the obvious choice for the next like kind of Thanos big bad behind the scenes character. But if you're gonna do another one, it has to be Galactus, right? Because they have the rights to that. They've really set that up, and everyone's kind of arguing that they really haven't done enough cosmic stuff to set up Galactus. And I was like, dude, a couple more Doctor Strange movies, one Guardian of the Galaxy movie, you're good.
You're there.
You're
good.
there. You're good.
It's he's gonna show up in Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
like,
good.
dude, to a Captain Marvel's movie, a Guardians movie, and a Doctor Strange movie, you're telling me you can't set up Galactus with those three? You know what I mean? Like, it's literally right there.
They're probably gonna wait until after they set up Fantastic Four.
Because then you can set up Silver Surfer, too.
Yeah, you can set up so much by setting up Fantastic Four.
God, give me a good Fantastic Four movie. I want it so bad. Let Jonathan Hickman write it.
You know, they're gonna be like, someone is gonna jokingly leak a rumor that it's gonna be directed by Tim Story again.
Well, dude, I still want the rumor, and it's been a rumor forever, but I want the John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman so bad.
I can see that.
I want that so bad.
Because I that's the question I've been wondering. Are we going to have a young Reed Richards, or are we going to have a middle-aged Reed Richards?
I would think a middle-aged Reed Richards.
Yeah.
I would think like a around Doctor Strange kind of age Reed Richards. But
Yeah.
dude, think about it. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are A, married in real life, B, are both great actors and actresses.
Honestly, give John Krasinski the directing rights, or have him direct it, and I'm sure they'd sign on.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, here, we want you to play this.
Dude, he
also
was
we'll
almost
direct it.
Captain America.
I know. It's so weird thinking about how 10 years ago, everyone's like, Jim from The Office is Captain America, and now everyone's like, wait, he's Jim in The Office?
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of flipped. It's like, he's now Jack Ryan. He's some badass action hero.
Yeah. It's awesome.
But yeah, I think my summation is like, because I had been thinking about the thing I brought up, the whole meme blockbuster
Right.
thing for like the week leading up, but it's just more I think the big caveat is I do enjoy these films. I really do like
Right.
it. It's just more of a, I hate using this phrase, but I feel like it's almost perfect, as I enjoy these movies for what they are.
Right.
And I'm not going to sit there and bitch and moan that they're not some
Artistic
artistic
Right.
piece. And again, I think that's the difference between Marvel and Star Wars, is that Star Wars is willing to do a narrative depth that...
Right.
I'm not saying that Marvel couldn't do it, but Marvel has... I think it's part of the... To get really deep into it, I think it's part of the fact that modern blockbusters make more money overseas.
Right.
And so that means you aren't necessarily going to do... You have to keep... It's not that the audience isn't capable of understanding it as much as they literally don't speak English in some cases.
Right.
To where you can't do a crazy
But I will say...
story.
I will say that the idea of the Black Widow prequel film is a perfect place to be able to do something a little more artistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why that film is taken. I think it's both a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously, it's a bad thing because of the diversity stuff. Like, she should have had a solo film a long time ago.
Yes.
Because she is such an interesting character, and like someone that hasn't really been explored. But I think that it's also a great thing, and I think Scarlett Johansson talked about it in an interview too, of like the film wouldn't be the Scarlett Johansson or the Black Widow solo film wouldn't be what it's gonna be if she didn't have this 12 years to be with the character.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that because Marvel spends so much of Marvel's time is spent setting up other films or setting up new characters, where you don't have time for that depth that you want.
Yeah.
Because like the way the Star Wars is able to do that because you sit with these characters for so long, right? You understand, like you have you're not trying to introduce something new, right? You're just telling the arc of this character.
Yeah.
Where with something like a Black Widow prequel film, we know who this character is. We know her story. So now we can see where she comes from, and then that's a time for you to really explore and play.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been my personal thought too about Marvel going forward is they've spent... Is this the point where from now on they're just going to keep the status quo? Or is this the point where they've laid so much groundwork
down the time to pivot,
where they can pivot and they can go deeper? And if they do that, I think then great, more power to them. That's the kind of thing I would like to see. But it's also, again, one of the reasons why I think the main criticism of them being formulaic comes up.
Right. And I think it's... Marvel spent so much time building the city, right? And I think it's building the city, getting water, getting waste management, getting electricity, getting everything set up in the city, and getting everything down to where now you can add a cultural center, you can add a nice park, and you can really kind of play up this entire thing.
You could build up the entire city, and then when you get tired of it, like in SimCity or in City Skylines, you can just throw a meteor at it when you're done. And that's Avengers 5. Any other thing else on Endgame?
I really want a Marvel like one-off or one-shot of Captain America going back to put in the Soul Stone and seeing the Red Skull and going, "What the fuck?"
No. Here's my thing. The moment he went back, and I was like, "Oh, please." Because first off, Chris Evans has started to get bigger into directing.
Yeah.
It's like, give him a Captain America film set.
Oh, him putting the stones back?
No. Not of him putting the stones back. I want like a 1950s, 1960s Captain America where he has to be like undercover because he can't reveal that he's Steve Rogers, but he's still freaking Captain America doing some secret thing for S.H.I.E.L.D. for Peggy where she can't even tell, like, where they're like super... I kind of want to see that. I want that to happen. I'm totally down for that. And the cool thing about that idea is you can wait like 10 years to do it.
Yeah.
Give him a break and then be like, hey,
I got an idea.
Do you want the S.H.I.E.L.D. back?
But dude, no, I wanted, and it wouldn't have fit, right? It wouldn't have fit at all, and it would have ruined the tone. But man, the moment of him putting the Soul Stone back and Red Skull coming out and being like, and him going, "Oh, what the fuck? Where did you come from? Why are you here?"
It's like, oh god. I wonder what. Honestly, it's like, would this dead Red Skull just be like, because he's kind of like just the keeper of the temple, I guess. Would that keeper be like, oh shit, it's Captain America? Or would the keeper be like, look, I'm just like a shell of who I was. Like, no need to pump. Okay, you punch me in the face.
I don't think he'd go straight to funny. I think it'd just be a conversation, like a really funny conversation that I would have wanted to see.
Didn't I kill you in 45?
Right. Stuff like that, right? I would have loved to see that. But obviously it wouldn't have worked. And I'm curious where they go from here. But I think that with them moving to doing these Disney Plus shows, I think that's really going to help them. I think the Disney Plus shows are going to be awesome. I think
just Disney Plus. I can't wait for November.
Oh yeah, dude, Mandalorian's going to be great. Did you watch that teaser finally?
No, I still need to watch the teaser.
So good.
But
it's so good.
Yeah, I guess. Is there anything else though?
No, I'm good. So
yesterday was May the 4th. We were originally going to try to do some stuff, but basically my schedule got in the way of what I wanted to do. But there's some stuff underway that would have been on May the 4th that might come up in the future. That's a wink and a nod to future ideas.
Yeah.
But we did, however, want to... James, why don't you roll credits because we're going to the end. Again, please like, share, subscribe. You can click the bell on YouTube. You can do all the fun things. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at feedback@quality3.net. You can always find out more info at quality3.net as well for upcoming streams and other fancy bits plus show notes. And then, so just make sure you like, share, subscribe. But we do have a bit of a tease for something that will be coming.
I'm super excited.
We're coming with the next stream. So, James, why don't you take us out?
Good to have you back on duty. I can put you on a case right now. Are you ready?